So, let's say you could not find a pattern or layout that matches your style or requirement. The solution to this problem would be to create your own layout or section. To do that, head over to your homepage, click on the blue square button located at the top left, and select the Blocks tab. You will notice a list of purple blocks under Stackable, which is the page builder that we are going to use. For each section that we want to create, we will always start by inserting a columns block, which will be like the container of the entire section. A new section will open where you have to select the number of columns and the proportions inside this block. Let's select the 3-column layout. Now that the columns are set, we need to do 3 things first. Go to Document Overview, select the new columns block that you added, and then go to Settings. Scroll down under Layout and make sure the block width and content width are both set to align wide. Now, the block will take the full width of the content container of the theme. The second step is to go to Style and then enable the background and change the background color to white. This will enable some side padding to your content when the screen is switched to tablet or mobile. Now that you have set that, you can add elements to the block by starting with the left column. Click on the plus icon to add a new block inside the column. If you already know which block you want to insert, you can search for it in the search bar by starting with its first letter. You can also click on the Browse All button to browse the blocks. Scroll down and click on the block that you want to add. Let's start by adding an image block. Remember, we only want to choose the purple blocks that are used by Stackable. After the image block is added, you can then select an image from your gallery. Now, we want to add something below the image that is still inside the columns container. Click on the Document Overview tab and then click on the arrow next to Columns to open it up. Do the same with the first column and click on the Settings icon next to the image. You can either add a block before the image with Add Before or after the image with Add After. In this case, we want to select Add After before we want to add a block below the image. You will notice that a paragraph block was automatically added. Click on the small blue square and select the block that you want to add. Let's add a heading below the image and then add some text to the heading. Let's change the heading tag to that of H3. Another way to add a block under a text block is to press Enter and then add a /. Let's add a text block and add some dummy text. To add another block under the text, press Enter and then let's add a button and add some text to the button. You will notice a button group block was added, which makes it possible to add buttons next to each other. Let's duplicate the button to see how it's going to look like. We can also add a block into the center column. Let's add an icon block. To change the icon, make sure you select the icon block and then open its settings. Go to Style and then click on Icon. We are going to add a shirt as an icon by searching for it in the search bar. Select the shirt and then change the color to red. You will notice that the icon is very small, so let's increase its size to 100 pixels. As default, the icon will be aligned to the left of its container. Let's center it by clicking on Layout and then select Content Alignment to center. Let's add some spacing to the top. Go to Block Sizing and Spacing and give it a padding of 50 pixels. You will notice that the padding was added to all sides, including top, right, bottom, and left. To only add padding to one side, click on All Sides and only add a value to the side where you want it. Let's change the background of this block to black. What if we wanted this block to be aligned to the center vertically? To align it to the center, we need to select the inner column in which it is located. Go to Layout and change the column alignment to center. Let's add some content to the third column. We can start by adding a heading block. Let's add some content to this block and keep it to the H2 tag. Next, we want to add some text under the heading. Let's add some dummy text so that we can have an idea of what it is going to look like. Let's rearrange the layout of this section. Click on the columns block and let's rearrange the columns containing the heading and text. Try moving that column to the left side. Notice how we changed the order of the columns. Let's delete the third column and then duplicate the second one until we have 4 duplicates in total. This will make the design look a little bit better and more consistent. You will notice that everything is very cramped, so it would be a good idea if we can do something about the layout. In order to create several rows, we need to enable Allow Column Wrapping. You will notice that each column is numbered based on its order and also contains a field where you can add a percentage value. Let's change the first column to 100% so that it takes up the entire width, creating its own row. Notice how all the other blocks are cramped to the left. To fix this, let's give each of them a percentage value of 25%, which adds up to 100% if there are 4 columns. Let's see what is going to happen when we change the percentage values to 50%. Notice how the 2 on the right move to a new row, giving us a total of 3 rows for this section. If you can understand this column wrapping concept, then you can create almost any layout imaginable. Let's change it back to 2 rows by making the percentage 25%. Let's go to tablet screen to see how it's going to look like. Notice how the 3 columns are a bit cramped. To fix this, let's change them back to 50% each to move the last 2 columns to a new row. Now it looks much better. Let's go to mobile view. Notice how each column is set to 100% to take up the full width of the screen. Let's go back to desktop view. What if we wanted to change the spacing between each column and row? To set the spacing, select the columns block and then go to Settings. Go to the Layout tab and then scroll down until you reach the part that says Inner Column Spacing. You will see that the inner column spacing is already set to 12 pixels, which in most cases will be enough as it adds some space around each column. Let's say you only want to increase the horizontal gap between the columns. Instead of increasing the inner column spacing from 12 pixels, we can add some space by adding a value to the column gap, which will only increase the horizontal space. Let's add 20 pixels and see how it looks like. What if you want to add some vertical space between the rows? To do that, we can add some pixels to the row gap. Let's add 100 pixels to see the difference. Notice how the spacing changed. Let's reset both to change them back to normal. If you want to change the spacing of only one column, then you need to click on the inner column you want to change, and then go to Block Size and Spacing under the layout. Let's change the second column, which is the first column on the second row. Let's add 50 pixels to the right padding. As you can see, creating your own layout or section is not that difficult. It does take some basic knowledge from web design or development, but can be done. Stackable is one of the easiest page builders to work with, and we have selected it very carefully. Always remember to double-check the layout when you view it on other devices to make sure it is responsive. If you're having any issues with building the homepage, then you can reach out to us and we will gladly help. We can also build the homepage for you if you do not want to go through this process.